What's interesting about that though?
Mm.
Um, there is no hadith explaining in detail how to do the salat. This is something that comes up a lot. They always say, "Oh, if you follow the Quran alone, how do you do the salat?" And we say, "Okay, well, show me the hadith where it tells you how to do salat." They're stumped, right? It's like it's funny. It doesn't. These questions that get brought up, the hadith doesn't resolve them. If you look at the hadith that do discuss salat, they're all over the map as far as what you're supposed to do, how your hands are supposed to be, these processes. But none of them, in essence, address that fundamental question: How do you do salat? And this is what Navid was saying too. It's like, look, the Salat has always been in existence since the time of Abraham. A proof of that is that the followers, right, the disbelievers at the time of the Prophet were performing the Salat. Obviously, their Salat wasn't dedicated to God alone. They probably had other innovations in there. What the Quran does is it resolves this matter for us because, again, we take the Salat as it is today, we filter it through the Quran, and we can pull out the impurities. It's just a very simple one is that the salat should be dedicated 100% to God alone. Mentioning any other entity, beside God in the salat shouldn't be a part of that. Um, but this kind of eliminates this concept of, say, for instance, people they'll say the Fatiha, then they'll say another surah of the Quran. Like, does it make sense that when I'm talking to God in the Quran, I'm saying, "Oh, you disbelievers, to you is your religion, to me is my religion," when I'm communicating with God? Um, the only surah in the entire Quran that is a one-way communication from human beings to God is the Fatiha. That's it. Every other one, it's basically God communicating to us.
Are you saying we shouldn't recite Ikhlas or Nas or
Correct.
Falaq or House
I mean,
Surah?
even Muslims consider these options. So they are even disputing them. The only thing that everyone agrees on, Fatiha. That's what we're saying. We're saying only the what is confirmed in Quran, and we're not even getting into like the scientific aspect of it or mathematical confirmation. We're not even talking about all that. Even without that, you can already establish a ton of this stuff that you don't need. You can remove all the excess. But if you want to talk about the mathematical side of things, well, if you recite Surah 1, your lips touch a certain number of times, the sounds form a certain formula, and it's composed in a certain way. So you could say the same thing for the rakat numbers and the times. But we're just taking all of it for granted and just saying, okay, the Quran says that it settles the disputes. So what we're just doing in a very basic sense is taking the aspects of the salat that are not disputed and just taking it for granted. And what is disputed, we just disregard it. That's the
All right.
basic premise.